that opens the door for you to start aligning yourself with demonic rituals. Because after you master astrology and zodiac signs, then you can graduate into doing what I did, which was collecting crystals, giving the crystals magical powers, doing like lighting candles and saying weird incantations, and putting your crystals out in the moon and putting your crystals out in the sun, and collecting like I did, which I told you and is going to gross a lot of people out, but I started collecting my and I'd put it out in the moon with the crystals, and then you can collect it and keep it and spray it on your house plants, and that's supposed to...
Is that like a fertility rite? What was the purpose of that?
Yeah, it is. And like they say, if you collect it and you give it back to Mother Nature, and like it's the cycle of life, and you'll reap all these benefits. And like I even started becoming friends with this one girl who drinks her own urine because it's supposed to have all of these health benefits. And sure, maybe that's true. Maybe in cultures they found some...
I'll just be sick.
Disclaimer. To the Pharisees and Karens out there.
How dare you!
All guests on this show do not reflect the opinions of the host. The purpose of this show is to have interesting conversations, stretch our minds, and grow.
Not what we want!
If you are looking for an echo chamber, viewer and listener discretion
is advised.
You talk about extreme.
What is happening and what is up? Hold out your glass, because we're about to fill it up.
All things continually lead back to serpents, dragons, fairies, Nephilim, and fallen angels.
In the distance looms a mystical mountain.
As Mike Heiser used to say, if it's in the Bible and it's weird, it's probably important.
At its peak, a great fire burns, concealing the Prometheus lens.
This development of this knowledge that's being talked about within the mystery schools.
An ancient artifact said to reveal the hidden truth within a deliberately darkened world.
There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world.
Join us as we travel and explore the vast unknown. It's a hero's journey with dragons to slay, damsels to save, and innumerable treasures to hoard. Torches high.
The Smithsonian, they caught wind of a giant skeleton. They would send their agents out to get it.
But it takes courage to move forward, to move out of the shadows, out of the unreality that we think of as reality.
We are all on the hero's journey.
Mankind has been in contact with and influenced by extraterrestrials.
Leave the sentient mound of bull feathers out of it.
Look at it from a different perspective.
Hey, what is happening and what is up, my Prometheanites? Hold out your glass, because I'm about to fill it up. Welcome to the Prometheus Lens Podcast, a place where the conversations are always enlightening. I'm your host, Justin, and here we like to use the allegory of the Prometheus Lens to take a second look at everything. Hey, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the hero's journey. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Down below, we'll have our socials. Be sure to check us out on our various platforms, and that would be much appreciated. Hey guys, each and every week I say the same thing, right? I got a great guest lined up for you, and I've never lied to you, so you're just going to have to take me for my word here, okay? Trust me. I went on this lady's podcast a few months back, and I extended the invite to her, and she was in the middle of a move, so we had some scheduling conflicts, but hey man, the stars have aligned, and I'm here to treat you guys today, and she's here to treat you. I'm just going to be the innocent bystander here. But I'd like to welcome to the show Julia from the Cosmic Peach. Julia, thank you for coming on today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this one. We had a really great conversation when you came on my show.
Tell him, don't be a glory hog. This is my time.
Right. So we had a really great conversation when you came on my show. We kind of talked about your past and like what brought you to this point, and it was really similar to my past. I mean, not exactly, but it just reminded me a lot of my own story, and how crazy it is that we both ended up becoming conspiracy theory podcasters, and like we're really passionate about the same topics, and it's just an interesting journey for both of us how we got here. So I was just kind of gonna talk to the listeners today, because if it's happened to me and it's happened to you, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are struggling in the same way, with how to be a good Christian in this crazy world where there's so many unanswered questions and like stuff is being shoved down your throat constantly, and you almost feel like you can't get a good answer. And a lot of people who practice spirituality will say you can't find these answers in the Bible, that there's a lot of unanswered questions. And that does start to kind of weigh on you after a while, because you're like, well, the Bible doesn't say anything about aliens, or the Bible doesn't say anything about like ancient technology or mystical beings or fairies or dragons or anything like that. But if you look at it, you will actually find that the Bible is one of the most supernatural texts in the world. It's almost like there's nothing comparable to it even. And I actually grew up, my grandfather was a pastor and he had his own church. So my entire family grew up, singing and playing and being around church people. And he was a really fiery pastor. I prefer that when I go to church, instead of someone just kind of very monologue reading from the Bible and you sit there with your legs crossed, and I want to feel the passion. Probably because that's just how I grew
Southern
up.
Baptist, I'm assuming.
Worse, Pentecostal. So
yeah, I grew up to running the pews and shaking the handkerchiefs and wiping that mouth every other word.
Yep, that was my grandpa. And, a lot of people think that the Pentecostals are like the crazy ones, which is fine. I mean, people can think that. But when I grew up, my grandpa would be running up and down the aisle and everybody was shouting and falling out in the spirit, speaking tongues and getting oil splashed all over them and putting the little cloth over them. It was just like normal for me, and actually I felt very at peace and at home being at church. But then, the older I got, the more I started to kind of question things, because he was a simple man. I mean, we were from the Appalachian Mountains in Kentucky, and there was a very specific type of lifestyle, and it was, you go to church, say your prayers, pay your tithes, make sure you don't sin because you don't want to go to hell. Jesus could come back anytime. And that was pretty much all there was to it. And when you start looking into conspiracy theories and aliens and dragons and Nephilim and all this, you're like, well, how does this fit in with the Bible? Or how do even ghosts fit in with the Bible? Because I got really into researching the paranormal, and I actually have a once a week episode on my podcast interviewing people about paranormal experiences. And I was just struggling in finding how it could connect with the Bible, because I was starting to think that there were other realms or other dimensions that these beings were coming from, like the Bigfoots and the Loch Ness Monster and all this stuff that you hear about. And I started to kind of get into spiritualism and drifted away from Christianity because I felt like I would find some type of answer in that. And I don't know about you, but
And I hate to
it
interrupt
just
you, but that's something that I say on the show, and I think that's amazing that you said that, because it just confirms what I've been talking about forever. Is that I say that's something that the church is just astronomically failing at, because I say you have these people like yourself that have these supernatural encounters, or they were involved in New Age or the occult or witchcraft or even, Satanism. They have seen the supernatural. They've tasted it. They've experienced it firsthand. They know that it's real. And when they do seek these answers, they go to the church because they think that's who has the answers. And when they do, they look at them like they're crazy, and they say, "Oh, that stuff's not real," or "That person that wrote that book, they write stuff to sell books. That stuff ain't real." Well, immediately that person's going to be like, "You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. I come here for answers, so I'm going to go somewhere else that says they have the answers."
Because that's, at the end of the day, I think there is this hunger inside of everyone who they just want to know, like, what happens when we die. Why are there certain things that are unexplainable? Why are there mystical things that happen? And like, what in the world is going on? Where do they come from? Where do we go? And I think there's just this hunger inside people for the truth and for answers to stuff like that. And unfortunately, if you grow up like I did, it's kind of like almost shamed to talk about it, because my grandpa, who had the church, he actually ended up developing Alzheimer's, and so he couldn't preach anymore. And so my mom and my dad and I moved in with them to take care of him because my grandma couldn't do it and he was really losing it. So we moved in with them, and it was almost like whatever was in their house was like mocking us because we were so close to God. There was something so demonic in that house. And I saw it. My mom saw it. My sister saw it. When my cousins came over, they saw it. And it would be like, I would be sitting in the living room, and it would look like my cousin Brooke walked by in the kitchen, and I would call out to her and she wouldn't answer, or I'd get up to go look for her and she wasn't there, but it looked just like her. And you would never know. And then you would ask and be like, "Is Brooke here?" "No, she's not here." And it would take the form of different family members to almost confuse us. And one night my sister came to spend the night, and she actually slept in the bed with my grandma. It was right after we had to put my grandpa in the nursing home, and she came over to check on my grandma, and she spent the night. She slept in my grandma's bed, and she woke up in the middle of the night, and she saw this figure standing outside the door, and it was just smiling at her, and it had this demonic look on its face, and it was like crawling at her, and she just pled the blood of Jesus all over her and my grandma. And she said she just like prayed all night, and it went away, but then she couldn't go back to sleep because she was so terrified.
Yeah.
And she said she just laid there and prayed until she saw like the sun coming up, and she just couldn't believe what had happened. But for my grandpa and my family to be so close to God, and for something so like terrifying to be in their house, I just couldn't justify it. And it was also hard for me, and it might be hard for a lot of other people who are listening to this, to justify how a good and loving God could end my grandfather's life in the way that he feared the most. Because he always used to say, "I don't care how I die, I just don't want to lose my mind or end up in a home." And that's what happened. He lost his mind and he ended up in a home. And so I went through a very rebellious period of my life where I was like, I've seen things that can't be explained. How could a good and loving God do this to my grandpa when he dedicated his entire life to serving him. And anytime you bring up stuff like that and you're like, explain it to me, like, how is this so? Like, how can these two things exist in a world where we have such a loving God? And it was just hard for me to wrap my head around that. And so I started looking, and when you get into New Age spiritualism, it's always the promise of healing, and it keeps you on this hamster wheel of trying to reach certain goals to achieve healing. And so the first goal is you have to confront the dark night of the soul and go through all your trauma stuff from your past. And my dad was a drug addict, and he was pretty awful. And, I moved around a lot as a kid. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just deal with all my past trauma and then I'll have healing. And then it's like, well, then you balance your chakras and then you have healing. And then it's like, okay, well, I did that and I still don't have healing and I still don't have answers. So the next thing after that is you have to meditate or you have to do yoga and then you'll have healing. And it's just like, you always have to do, there's always some unobtainable thing that you have to do to get this healing. And it just keeps you on this perpetual roller coaster of, okay, I'm going to get the healing. And then, no, I'm not going to get the healing. And then, okay, I'm going to get the healing this time. And then, no, it still didn't happen. And I still don't have any answers.
And that's a deceptive thing. It really is, because you don't really know what you're getting into. They're selling you lies, and you know, with modern viewpoint, you think that, oh, well, this is just therapy. This is therapeutic. And, you know, this is not something wicked or evil. And it is, it's just a deception, you know. And I'm just curious for the people listening, guys in the chat or listening, drop me a comment. Be honest. You can be anonymous if you want to, but I'm curious, how many of the listeners have found themselves in New Age practices and things like that and didn't even know it? I'm curious about that.
And it's easy to get into because the first thing that I read was a book on astrology. And I actually have a very interesting take on that. Because in my opinion, it's the gateway into welcoming demons into your life. Because when you start studying astrology and then you start allowing your physical self, your spiritual self, and your mental self to be aligned with Leo or Sagittarius, or I'm ruled, that's what they call it, I'm ruled by Mars, or I'm ruled by Jupiter. And you start yoking yourself with that demon. So like when
Deuteronomy
people say
32.
Yeah. And so I have always held on to the belief, and a lot of people are going to like disagree with me to like the 100th degree on this. But when you start identifying with a zodiac sign and you start saying like, oh, I'm ruled by Venus, I'm ruled by Mercury, or whatever it is, and you start yoking yourself to whatever that zodiac sign is, and you allow yourself to be consumed by it, like, well, I have these personality traits because this is the star sign I was born under, or the sun was in this alignment at the time I was born, and so therefore my life path is this, and it's almost like, and then people don't realize it, but to wear it around your neck like Sagittarius, you know, or they have it like whatever on their coffee mug, or they surround themselves with like the symbolism of the zodiac. And in my opinion, that's the easiest ritual that you can do, that people do on a daily basis, that opens the door for you to start aligning yourself with demonic rituals. Because after you master astrology and zodiac signs, then you can graduate into doing what I did, which was collecting crystals, giving the crystals magical powers, doing like lighting candles and saying weird incantations, and putting your crystals out in the moon and putting your crystals out in the sun, and collecting, like I did, which I told you and is going to gross a lot of people out. But I started collecting my and, you know, I'd put it out in the moon with the crystals, and then you can collect it and keep it and spray it on your house plants, and that's supposed to...
Is that like a fertility rite? What was the purpose of that?
Yeah, it is. And like they say, if you collect it and you give it back to Mother Nature, and like it's the cycle of life, and you'll reap all these benefits. And like, I even started becoming friends with this one girl who drinks her own urine because it's supposed to have all of these health benefits. And sure, maybe that's true. Maybe in cultures they found some...
I'll just be sick.
Yeah, that's what. So what the caveat is that I didn't understand at the time when I started getting into all this is the people who used to practice these rites of like drinking their own urine and stuff, they were not on the Western American diet, and they were actually eating super health, like the type of diet that we're on, we cannot drink our own urine. Like, it's toxic. We eat Taco Bell, we eat processed foods, we drink alcohol. We're like not in the healthiest state we can be. And so when I started getting into all that, like collecting my period blood and drinking urine and like doing all this stuff, now where I'm at in my conspiracy theory journey, I look back on it and it's 100% witchcraft to me.
Hi everybody, I'm Chris Vick. I'm the founder of Squatch Survival Gear, and today I'm here to talk to you about some of our most popular packs. In 2017, I founded Squatch Survival Gear because I was tired of seeing low-quality, mass-produced packs flooding the American market. I decided I'd make a pack that was 100% designed and manufactured in the United States, and today I'm here to talk to you about some of our most popular packs. This is the Night Howler. It's designed for EDC and travelers. As you can see, it's small. It's roughly 10 by 12 inches. It's designed for everyday carry. The pass-through pad allows you to put it on your luggage when you travel. This is the Rougarou. It's very civilianized, lots of attachment points. This is a 25-liter pack. We designed it for a little lighter load. If you need more than the Night Howler, you should try this. This is the Mothman, very similar to the Rougarou, roughly the same size, but it's designed for carrying a much heavier load. The removable waist belt will help you carry that extra load. You've also got your retaining strap if you're going to take that on a travel trip. This is the Kakamora. This would be your first 72-hour pack, as we used to say in the Army. It comes with an internal frame, totally adjustable straps, heavily padded. You can carry heavy loads, carry lots of gear. This is the Rock Ape. It's a 45-liter pack. Same internal frame, same great padded straps that you like, with a few extra features. If you're wondering what's with all the crazy names, well, that's because finding 100% American made is as hard as finding Bigfoot in the woods. When you're ready to carry our packs, contact us at squatchsurvivalgear.com or any of our social medias.
Hey, what is going on, guys? Hey, are you enjoying the show? Are you just geeking out and binge watching every minute of Prometheus Lens podcast that you got available? And now you found yourself at the end of the line. You're like, man, I've seen them all. I'm all caught up. Now I just gotta wait till every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard for the lives. Hey, let me let you in on a little secret, man. We got this thing called the All Access Pass, and there's tons of exclusive members-only content there. We have all kinds of episodes. You get these episodes 48 hours early. You get monthly Q&As and access to the private Facebook community and so much more that is coming on down the line. And it's your way of supporting the show and help me to keep doing what I love to do and what you obviously enjoy. So head on over to the website PrometheusLensPodcast.com and sign up. See you guys on the other side. Hey guys, you found yourself at the end of the line, and this means that you're not an all access pass holder, so I gotta play the Gandalf here and slam it down and say, you shut up. Hey, if you'd like to join us on the hero's journey and get the rest of this episode, And not only this episode, you get 48 hours early to every single episode in the future, and gain access to an entire library of members-only content, access to the private Facebook community, and monthly Q&As with authors and speakers and researchers that I've had on the show. Head on over to PrometheusLensPodcast.com and sign up. It's quick, it's easy, and I'm only asking you to sacrifice a happy meal once a month. You're without an excuse. Homeless people come up with $5 to $10 a day for their addictions. Nobody's that hard up. Torch is high, guys.